No, give me a second. Can you write in the chat that they have to look at the channel? I think there's a second video because I can't find the old one.
Yeah. Let me see.
Or like,
You think there's a new one now?
yeah.
Let me see. Oh, now there is. Yeah.
Nice Rolleiflex, Nico.
Thank you. It's all I can do is what it's doing now. It's just sitting here because it's
Aw.
broken.
Oh no. Well, apparently Piero has fixed one already, so there's hope.
Ooh, live now.
This live stream
there it
will
works.
work. Oh, there you go. Okay. I'm going to the new one.
Oh, isn't technology wonderful?
No, that the new YouTube Live Studio sucks so much. I'm sorry, but it really does suck.
Oh my god, there's so much feedback.
There's a lot of lag.
Yeah, there's crazy lag.
West? Yeah, maybe you guys should close the YouTube.
Make my video better.
Close the YouTube stream you're watching.
Yeah, I muted the YouTube studio.
Close it completely, please, because
We
it
should
takes.
mute it because otherwise we can't answer questions, or
It's okay. It's okay.
we don't answer questions.
Let's
Fine.
explode the internet.
Close.
Yeah, Nico, it's already exploding. Like, especially because Jahan and Nico are like having the YouTube video open in the background, which is ideal for their bandwidth. Which is Nico's mobile phone, and I guess Jahan doesn't even know what internet he has.
I can close it, but like you gotta read me the questions or something.
I
That's
have the
okay.
one where you like dial and it makes that weird sound. That's the
You can actually on the like at the chat there should be 3 dots where you can click on and open chat in a new window. Then you don't have the stream, but you have the chat.
Oh, okay. I'll try that.
I'm gonna do that.
Oh my god.
Okay, Marco, go. Start this.
What's with the sound? Is it too loud? Is it what? Oh, damn! I'm too loud, I guess. So let me see that. Better. Oh, Thomas! Hey, how is it going in Sweden? I guess you are in Sweden and not touring at the moment. Especially since everything is not. Dan, what? Dan is making a roller coaster for us. Thank you very much.
Sorry. I'm trying to figure out the best way to hold this horizontally with one hand.
What plate is that in the back behind you? It looks like a.
That's it's a steel drum.
A
like
steel
a small
drum.
steel,
Okay.
like pan drum, steel pan drum.
Okay.
Oh, those are pretty cool.
So at the end we hear a live jam session. Jahan on the guitar, Dan on the drums. Okay, good.
It's really working.
That's about right.
It's working. It's kind of working.
Honestly,
so,
if this works, then humanity can beat the coronavirus.
Yes, we did a live stream. Oh my god, no.
Oh my goodness.
So hey everybody, it's Dan, that's Jahan, and we also have Nico here. If we say something, we will see his picture, I guess.
Marco, you didn't say it's Marco from Analog Things.
That's Marco from Analog Things. But I'm always on the stream, not like you guys.
I uploaded a YouTube video like a few days ago.
Yes, you also did a video on Polaroid Emotion Lift. Dan turned down the volume.
Sorry, no, I've got I wanted to monitor the. Look at it, I've got another phone, so I'm not even on the Wi-Fi, and I can still be on YouTube, and it's not messing us up.
Oh my god,
that's how advanced I am here.
Technology.
Yeah. Yeah, ask me how the pandemic turned out.
Yeah, how did it turn out?
You don't want to know.
Oh, this is before it mutated, right?
It's not good. I mean, the upside is there aren't enough people left to fight wars. So,
well, do we just need the young ones to fight wars? Isn't it like
there aren't enough people? Full stop.
Oh, okay, good.
Everyone works maintaining the water and the garbage collection now. That's it.
And the internet.
Eddie did it.
Did you are you guys reading the comments? Someone said Nico forgot to grow a beard to show some team spirit.
Yes, I know. But I put a like a thumbnail of him with the mustache actually on, but
Yeah.
he decided that Corona didn't make us grow beards. But actually,
Yeah,
beard is not a good idea because you're always touching it. So
Yeah, but the beard actually protects.
from like it's just like statement point
Yeah.
dot like everything exclamation mark. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, what are we talking about? What we should we do actually? It's just like we are all kind of a lockdown. I mean, Dad is not on lockdown yet, as far as I know, but Jahan and me are sitting in Vienna, so we are on not the toughest lockdown, but we should be at home. We are allowed to go for walks. We are allowed to go grocery shopping, but we are not allowed to be outside in groups. And yeah,
I got
We-
a new Leica.
and that's that. Like you go, you went shopping for a Leica. What is
Oh,
it?
nice.
You have to talk to yeah.
It's not very portable.
Wait, what did you get? What did you get? I didn't see.
He got a Leica projector. I
Oh,
think
nice.
Jahan, you have to talk so we see it.
It's you see, so I mean, as far as we're all concerned, that's an essential, right?
Yes, at the moment it is.
Well, I'm thinking of going through all the Kodachrome I have at home from my parents.
Oh
'Cause
wow.
they have like 50 boxes full of it.
Well, we have time. 3 more weeks at least. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing it will be 7 weeks, to be honest.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. You can do every day 1 roll of film.
No, I could do more. I gotta optimize.
Oh, let me just get the mouse away. So yeah. Everything is a little bit strange at the moment here. I think then the states are still not like getting the full impact yet, but I think people are starting to get crazy, right?
There, it depends. So I just came back from another kind of grocery shopping trip, and everyone, if you were just judging it by how much people are buying of certain categories of stuff, then it would look like they were taking it seriously. But you know, they're not. Like for me currently, the most stressful part of this, aside from like lost income and uncertainty, is how people aren't taking the physical distancing seriously.
Oh yeah.
They're just not, not really seeming concerned about it. It's more, and in Florida, it's weird because people are used to hurricane shopping, so people do this kind of shopping
Yeah.
for hurricanes, but they don't. I think that's how they're treating it in a lot of places. It's why I think it's one of the reasons why people aren't taking it seriously. I saw it written somewhere a couple of days ago, and it just summed it up well. That the way people are reacting, and especially the sound bites on the news, and it's not just in the U.S. but also in the U.K. and probably elsewhere too, is they're kind of reacting the same way that they would react in the aftermath of a tornado or a hurricane or a terrorist attack even. It's like they don't realize that they're in the middle of what's going on, rather than it being kind of, well, it's happened,
Just
so we're
coming.
just gonna ride it out. It's like no. So
And I know, like my dad, he lives like in the valley or like to the border to Mexico, and they always have like 3 weeks of food in their freezer just because they are in the tornado alley and they just like they could be locked down completely by flood.
wow.
So they always have like 3 weeks of food. So they're like, yeah, well, okay, we stay at home 3 weeks, fine.
Well,
crazy.
it's. I mean, people are the biggest problem with the U.S. and it's something that I've told people for years. Whenever I get asked, because I live outside of the U.S. now, I get asked a lot about like infrastructure related questions. Prior to this, people say, oh well, why isn't this better in the U.S. or why are people so slow to act on X or Y? And my explanation is always just that you have to take into account the vast scale of the country and that it's really not manageable the way that like most European countries are a fraction of the size. You know, they're the size of your average United States state, and even the states themselves here can't handle things well. But as we've seen already around Europe, it takes a lot of effort for a small country to get their act together. But
Yeah.
it can happen a lot faster. But with a country like this, especially with the separation between federal and state government, this is showing what the problems are with that. So they're leaving it up to, first it was cities putting their city on lockdown, and then slowly, the governor of a state finally goes, okay, like today, New York is on lockdown finally as a state. Yesterday, California finally went on lockdown, and people are still complaining about it. Florida shouldn't be too far behind because there's so many spring breakers here, partying and ignoring. I know it's kind of ridiculous. They closed all the beaches here in Southeast Florida the day that I decided to stay, which wasn't my happiest moment. But it has to be done because people are kind of just disregarding the danger. And I mean, we can see it in the UK. They haven't fully kind of locked down the UK yet, and people are crammed into pubs. So I actually think that on the whole, the US is doing a little bit better than the UK is at the minute, which is saying a lot.
The good thing about the
But
US,
anyway, I'm
though,
glad that you're all safe.
what I was going to say, the good thing about the US is that it's such a like car heavy country that it's going to affect like the big cities, but it's not going to affect like rural places as much because people are just like in their cars, and I guess there's not so much direct contact. I don't know.
Well, but like, look at Doha. Nobody walks there. There's not even a side way to walk at. They only have cars, and they have a lot of cases, like a ton of. So, like, I don't think that's an argument, to be honest.
Yeah,
But, like-
because the people, the cars are only distance people between A and B, and what you have is like in the States, people shop in malls, right? They shop in vast indoor things where areas where people are even more in close contact than they might be on an otherwise crowded shopping street outside. So it's I think it's a big mixture. I think you're right that on cities that people walk and use public transportation, which is a small number of cities in the U.S., it will be higher density. But I don't actually think that again, even I just went to a supermarket and people are way too close to each other, what we won't know for weeks and weeks or possibly months whether that actually makes a really big difference in the long run. But anyway, I mean, it's an interesting.
Yeah.
All we can do is observe and do our best to follow the rules. Like I'm staying with my mother, and my brother and his family are only about a 10-minute drive away. But the last couple of days, we've just decided to keep our distance because
That is
his two
stuck.
eldest kids, who are 7 and 5, have a slight cough, and it's probably cough. But we're just kind of staying clear. We're not doing anything other. We're already basically locked down aside from grocery runs. So hopefully other people will do it. But I think that's the sensible thing to do, even if anyone who's watching this isn't on lockdown. Just act like you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, just like don't listen don't wait for your government to react. Just react yourself. Kind of be prepared.
Oh, I'm just looking at the comments. Liam says pubs and everything are ordered to shut from tonight in the UK, so that's a good thing.
Well.
Cinemas, restaurants, clubs, cafe. Okay, good. So they finally
Starting
come
to
the
react.
senses there.
Yeah, but it's crazy. But okay, let's talk about something else. So we have one question. What is the last camera you shot and the film, and what did you shoot with it? So let's start with Dan, huh? What camera did you use?
Well, this is interesting, right? Because I'm nomadic. I kind of pack as much as I can into my bags when I travel, just in case. But on this trip, because it was just going to be 2 weeks in the States, and I wasn't planning on doing any work-related shooting, I didn't pack. I packed in kind of a more fun, random way. and thinking that I would go back to the UK the beginning part of this week and pick up, swap some stuff at storage before I was supposed to head off to Iceland. And we've lost Jahan. So
he was just typing something.
I've got. Oh, he's back now.
Yeah. I've got to turn off my video.
What do I have with me? So I've got my Rolleiflex 2.8 E with me, which is I barely shot with, but I recently had it serviced, so I think it still needs a little bit of work on the aperture dial. Shutter speed is nice and fluid, but the aperture dial does not like. Or no, it's the other way around. Aperture dial is fluid. The shutter speed does not like to behave when it gets down to about a 30th of a second and below. But it's been fun to shoot with. And now I'm stuck with it. But the last camera that I shot with, I went out a couple of days ago to kind of just document what things were like along the beachfront where it was shut. So you can be right up until you can be on the pavement right up until the beach. So I shot a full roll of Portra 400 on my M6 very quickly, surprisingly quickly. But it's kind of eerie to see these wonderful beaches completely empty. Except for and a couple of cruise ships anchored off the shore, and police on either their motorbikes or just kind of patrolling, and a handful of people just kind of getting as close to the sea air as they can. But that was kind of fun, and I don't know. I've got like 7 or 8 cameras with me. Weirdly, I've packed a ton of stuff with me, but it's all weird fun.
All the time, Dan. It's like you.
Well, just for fun, right? I've got a Goodman Zone camera with me that I was finally able to pick up a lens and a back for, so I'm just about finished building that. It's a 3D printed camera kit, so I haven't run any film through that yet, but that'll be fun. I've got a Pen FT half frame camera that I'm just about finished with the first test roll on, which is all good timing because as of today and tomorrow, boxes arrive with my first load of home development gear, which I'll be starting on this weekend.
You're preparing for the apocalypse.
Basically.
Are you watching the Jahan's Skillshare tutorials?
Do you even develop, Dan? Seriously?
Ask me on Monday, and my answer will be yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
So if you don't know how to develop film, you can watch Jahan's videos on Skillshare.
I can drop a link in the chat.
Yeah, do it. I don't know if you can actually.
Sponsor.
Skillshare is not the sponsor.
Skillshare, sponsor of the apocalypse.
How to survive? Is there actually prepping videos on Skillshare? I don't know.
Doesn't work. God damn it.
That would be good.
Oh, it won't let you post the link if it's not.
Yeah, or you can post it too, Nico. But send it to me. I post it.
I'll post it in the chat.
I think you're not allowed to, but try it.
Someone's commenting here that they thought I only shoot Peel Pals 800. No, that's a reference to the Intrepid instant video that I made with Willem back in October in New York. But anyway, there we go. There's the link. Yeah, no. For anyone who's listening, like I have actually started watching Jahan's Skillshare course on developing, and it helped a bunch in kind of understanding at least the first steps of what the hell I needed to put in my shopping cart.
The thing is, like, once you have everything, then it's like pretty straightforward. Like it's an initial investment. Oh my god, I can't speak. And once you have all like your beakers and whatever, then it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So, Nico, what did you shoot actually?
I think the last camera, the whole roll that I shot was the RZ, the video that I posted today, actually. Yeah. The Mamiya RZ. I've been shooting a couple of frames here and there at home, but I'm taking the 4x5 today home with some film and a developing tank, so I don't have to come back to the studio. As here in Spain, we're at full lockdown except for groceries, medicine, and work. So that will be my camera to use. But yeah, Mamiya RZ 6.7 Portra. That's about it. Not much else.
Yeah. Jahan, we were talking before. You were like out actually in Vienna because we are still allowed, not like Nico. Yeah. I guess you kind of want to document it, Nico, with the 4x5, but yeah.
I was thinking about taking the 4x5 out, but I think it would be too obvious that I'm not going for a walk or something. And
I mean, it's work for you.
Yeah, it is work for me, but
so
I mean,
as our government stated, we can go out for work.
I don't have a very wide lens though, so I have like a 210 millimeter lens. So it's not ideal for like capturing big scenes of like the street because it's not very wide angled.
You could grab my Graflex if you want, but
you could. eBay is still working, Jahan.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But no, so I was just taking my M6 with the 35 millimeter, and I think that's fine. And then I have the Fuji Classe S, which is like my point and shoot now, and that's 38 millimeters. And I have that one with me all the time with HP5. Like I only shoot HP5 right now. So I've been documenting the streets and the emptiness a bit. But that's about
interesting. In some spaces in Vienna, you really see it, like it's like dead completely. And then different places, like since we have such nice weather at the moment, everybody's just trying to get outside, which is so strange because you should be inside, you should not talk to people and everything. You shouldn't be like riding the bike next to each other like for miles and miles. But people do it, and it's like crazy how many people like really react and stay at home and like, okay, they go grocery shopping and then they go back home.
Yeah, but it's gonna snow in like 3 days apparently. So
wow.
Yeah, so that helps a little bit to keep us inside, hopefully.
Yeah, I posted on my Instagram like a few days ago a few videos on my story of just like the empty city. I don't know if anyone saw that, but I did a few things there. It like you can see like 1 or 2 people walking around, but it's quite calm. Which, like, to be honest, it's good because like I live close to a park, and every day I see like
children that are playing there. Yeah.
No, I see rats running on the street.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, because obviously they're too afraid because the park is always full with children and people.
Yeah.
And now it's like the animals are taking over, and wherever I go, I can hear birds like everywhere.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's really crazy.
Yeah. For us too, we were on the countryside today at our property, where we are not going to build a house at the moment, as it looks like. So we have a big property, but we can't build our house, so everything will be delayed probably, but we don't know yet. The guy with the big digger, what is it called? Like to get.
I thought you were about to say something else, man.
No.
The digger, the excavator.
Yeah, exactly. They said like it's only a one person's job, so he's coming with his excavator and like pushing the earth aside, and then the guy for the basement is also saying, yeah, he has 2 guys on the job, and yeah, he's like maybe they come too. So we really don't know. We are just like in the like thing of nothing. The only good thing or like thing for me is like my job didn't change a bit. Since I'm always working from home, like nothing changed for me. Like the only thing I have to keep distance from people, which working from home is easy. But as I was talking with Nico, like you still need to go to work with public transport, right? Or like it looks.
Well, I'm lucky enough, or not unlucky, that I work at 6 a.m. So there's no public transport at that time, and I'm driving to work. But the people on the road is the same amount. Like all the factories, pretty much all the factories are still running. Trucks are running. Actually, in Spain, they've lifted the ban on truck drivers, like the amount of time they can drive, and now they can drive unlimited. So they can like take food to places, take supplies and all that. And most trucks are working for food right now. But yeah, it's kind of weird to be at work and still working when you know that you walk outside and it's like apocalypse, like nobody's out, nobody's walking, nobody's doing anything, but you're at work like if nothing happened.
That's super strange, actually.
Yeah, and I work in a big factory, so I don't have the problem of being like on top of someone coughing on me. We have like, we're carpentry, so we have like forced air coming in. So even if I cough, it's like going out the window basically 10 seconds later. So whatever.
Okay. But still, a strange feeling to go to work when it's actually like, you should be at home, you should do nothing, and then it's like, yeah, can you please go to work and take the public transport and sit together with people in the office, or like, it's a strange situation.
It's strange indeed. It made me download TikTok, and I regret it.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, you're a young boy.
Well,
Tinder is not working at the moment.
I am officially the oldest person on TikTok.
I guess so. Yes. Okay, so what picture did I actually
downloaded
take?
TikTok, and they. Oh yes, no. Answer the question. Yeah, let's
like
answer that.
To be honest,
Go
it was a digital picture today because we were on the property and I took the drone with me just to document our process and everything. So I made pictures of our property from above.
So what was the last analog camera you used and film you shot?
It was actually the RF70, the Mint, because that's actually the one I use mostly. And yeah, just like taking pictures of my son, stuff like that. Yeah, but nothing documentary or anything. Unfortunately, no time for that. It's more like how should be your carpet or like actually floor? What tiles do you want? What kind of washing things do you want? And stuff like that.
Living the life.
Living the house building life. So boring. Okay, so other questions? Let's see what we have. Are we analog preppers? What is an analog prepper? Isn't prepping analog all the time, in my opinion? But yes, I consider myself an analog prepper. If I look at my fridge and how much like instant film I have, that's actually prepping, to be honest.
I consider myself an
I
What? Jahan, you first, because Dan's answer will always be longer.
Exactly.
Ooh, I could make it really long now. No, when I read the question the first time, I didn't read it properly, and I thought it said, "Are you guys analog rappers?" And I was like, "What is an analog rapper?"
Well, you only use analog things.
Yeah. So on the vinyl with
no looping, just
no
like
microphone.
straight. Well, analog microphones exist.
True. I thought more one of those like trumpet things that just make you sound really loud.
That's just like old. There's still analog in music. Okay. Then maybe your answer is a little bit more sophisticated than Jahan's.
I could never possibly be more sophisticated than Jahan. Have you seen his beard? Also, he's from Vienna. I think if you're from Vienna by default, you're the most sophisticated person in the room, right?
Oh, why? Thank you.
You know, I'm here and I'm not sophisticated. I'm like,
but you're from the countryside.
I'm from Vienna.
I'm kidding. So that was a joke about the Viennese people and how highly they think of themselves. Come on, you guys were the one who taught me that. So I don't know. I've never bought things and stockpiled like film or anything else because of something like this, because of shortages or anything. With the only exception of FP100, which when I had a sense that I actually bought a bunch of it that's in a fridge in the UK, of course, far away from me right now. But I bought a bunch of it about 4 years ago, right before they announced the discontinuation, just because I'd seen the price kind of slowly hiking up. So in that way, I think I was unintentionally a peel apart film prepper. But I have tons of film. What I'm now thinking about though is like I've got enough film to, if I like casually shoot, I could probably shoot for a couple of months based on my slow shooting pace, just with what I have in my mom's fridge, by chance, just because stuff that like I'd ordered here and didn't have room to pack on previous trips, and then on the stuff that I packed with me. I'm right now. I'm kind of, as long as the supply chain stays intact for getting more developing chemicals, then that's the only thing that I'm thinking now that I might like, once I feel like I've got my head around it and see how long everything's lasting, I might buy a little bit more if it feels like I'm going to be stuck here for 3, 6, 9 months. But
well, let's see how many months it will be. But
yeah.
Like,
how about you? Well, no, you're how about Nico?
Nico,
you're a
Yeah.
prepper?
Nico has tons of film.
Well, I'm lucky enough to be basically living on next to the studio. And my studio I have a whole Coca-Cola, like the tall ones that they have at the convenience stores or whatever, like a 7-Eleven, and I have it full of film. Plus, I was lucky enough that Kodak reached out like maybe a month or two ago and sent me some film too. So I've got some, color film to shoot at home and stuff like that. But I would probably never
Nice.
run out of film if I could do like another year of, lockdown and shoot 8x10 and 4x5 and FP. I also have a lot of FP 100C, but it's just above me, so I can pick it up and shoot it. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty good. Another thing that I have a lot is paper and chemistry. So hopefully once my wife understands that I can keep on doing stuff, she'll let me, it's just, being a lockdown with two little children is intense. And hopefully I'll bring one of my kids over and show them how to develop film and develop, print on
Nice.
paper and stuff like that. Like one at a time, because I bring both of them, it'll be mayhem. But yeah, I'm not a prepper, but I think by default, shooting film, you always have to have something ahead of time. You can't just have like an SD card and go shoot, You have to have 10, 20, 30 rolls and chemicals if you develop yourself and paper if you print and, all that stuff. We have to have it.
It's a good way of thinking about it, actually. Like we use a consumable, and so you're kind of buying I don't know about you, whenever I get the opportunity to buy film on discount, or if I see a really good deal of something I know I'll shoot and that I can refrigerate, I'll buy it. I'll buy as much of it as I possibly can. So I'm kind of like Hurricane buying whenever the opportunities come up.
Now, film cameras and film on your side, Dan, because you buy every film camera somebody sells.
That's not true. That's not true. I have a lot of them, but it has taken me a long time to get there. 12 years worth of slow buying, which is still way more buying than most people. I think. Let's see. My guess, because I since I know all three of you, my guess is that Jahan owns the fewest, and that's an easy guess. I'd still bet that Nico, you probably have more than I do.
Probably.
And then Marco, I bet Marco has slightly fewer than me, but I don't know. It might be a tie.
Might be. I don't know. I know that like even like Nico has more large format cameras than me. That which is crazy. Because I don't know anybody that has like 3 8x10 cameras.
You should outpace me, Marco, but I have this sense that you're slightly more rational, even.
What? No.
Dan, he's taking pictures of, carpet and tiles. Like, he's not shooting film and not interested in film anymore. Like, look at his last video was like, where have I been? And the next one's apocalypse, like the next one's going to be like, I got divorced.
I'm dead.
Big changes.
Well,
my God.
Let's you mentioned something in our chat before we started, Marco, about like possible topics, and one of them is something that I think I'm genuinely interested in, and I think it's going to be a rolling discussion with a lot of people over the next whatever period of time. But the role of photographers and photography in all this stuff that's going on, and the balance. How do we understand how to strike the balance between isolating ourselves and for those of us who thrive on documenting, whether it's it's not like it's this weird balance for a lot of us. I think that it's not art. It is art, but it's not. It's like this weird balance between it's like a personal documentary reportage. Even if we're not getting paid for it, we feel compelled to record.
But is it like the thing is like, is it our duty to document the current situation, to go out and do it and risk our lives actually to have like photographic material for the future? I mean, in our way, we have to say all four of us are more in the artistic way of documenting. We are not like we're going out with a digital camera and documenting it for news. So that's a big difference in my opinion.
Well, totally. Yeah. Well, and that's the question, right? Like, how do you define that? Is Is it only a responsibility to do it if you were already doing it? At what point do you become someone who starts documenting? I thought about this. I was thinking about this 2 days ago when I went down to the beach, because like I know there are news people reporting on all this kind of stuff, but I kind
Dennis, go on.
oh,
Dan is gone.
Yep. Is he back? Is he gone?
Well, this is
my brother. Yeah,
this is the moment when Dan starts talking too much. The
Trump's wall comes up, or what?
it's killing me now. So
We lost you at the beginning.
No, I know. My brother just keeps trying to call me. He's and I yeah. Anyway, no. What I was going to say was just it made me think when I was down there. It made me think. Well, if I'm stuck here and I don't have much of my stuff with me, I don't have any work ahead. Like what would I be able to do that would make me feel productive? And I've started looking into press credentials in the States and and publications that might might need occasional people on the ground in the area who can be mobile. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to do it, but I'm already reaching out to a couple of people in publications to say, hey, look, if you need someone else, like add me to your roster, because at least it's one tiny way that I can feel like if I'm needed, I could be useful.
Yeah. I mean, Jihad, you have been out already taking pictures. Mm-hmm. Is it like in an artistic way? Is it more documentary? How did you feel about these images?
Well, I don't know. I don't really think much about what I do when it comes to photography when I'm doing it.
And okay, in general, I don't think of much what I do. Okay, good.
No, just because like I follow my gut feeling, and I just feel like if I want to take a photo, I'll go take one. And then afterwards, I spend more time thinking about them, so I reflect a lot. Also because I think when you're taking photos and you're thinking too much about why you're taking them, like you'll miss moments and you'll like overcomplicate things. So I've been just going out and taking my camera just like that and not thinking about like, oh, I'm going to document like what it's like now. Like I went for a walk like 2 days ago, and I went all the way from like my house quite far, like maybe like 5 kilometers of walking or something. And I ended up finding this one spot that looked really interesting. And then I was like, okay, I really want to capture this because it's unique to the time now. But yeah, that's been about it. Like, I'm not leaving my house and being like, oh, I'm going to get some great shots because I need to document what's happening, because I feel like the people who are doing that are anyways like intentionally doing that. Like, I'm not a press photographer who does that.
Yep.
And so everything is always just like my interpretation of things. And I like that element of, how would you say, I like my subjective reality when it comes to photography. I think that's what I've tried to push a lot. And so that's just what I've been doing.
In your opinion, could we fake the current situation in images?
Sure.
Let's talk about long-time exposure, just like take a picture of the same like space, just like ND64, F96, just wait for hours, and then we have the empty space.
I was thinking that today actually, because I was standing in the one of the main squares of Vienna in the city center, and it was like a bright sunny day, and I was like, wow, if I have a crazy ND filter on this, I could just put the tripod here and wait 2 hours, and then it will look like the same.
Yeah.
But I think with photos, like there's always two layers to them. There's always like the obvious layer, like what you see, like you look at a photo and you're like, okay, this is what's happening. And then there's always the context, and often you don't know about the context, but in some photos the context can change the way you see it and the way you perceive it. So knowing that, like I would say like, oh, this photo was taken in the crazy quarantine time of Corona, it would be different than just saying, look, empty streets of Vienna.
Yep.
I think it's kind of hard for people to understand the current situation because it's nothing you can really document with images except for empty streets and like empty shelves and everything. Everything's just like empty. The only image that like I saw that was like crazy to me was these trucks in Lombardia, like with coffins going out of the city, out of the city, which is like the first image that kind of really shows how dramatic the situation is, and even that one is not really understandable for people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think so. Really think the media is missing to transport how dangerous the situation is in photographic or videographic way.
I mean, I think the thing with the empty cities, either Vienna or Florida or Spain, is once you see one empty city, like I remember seeing the Hong Kong cities when the whole
Yeah.
corona started, it all feels very much the same. Like it's just an empty, we've all seen, movies and things where they show like a city empty because something happened. It gets boring very fast. I think street photography, which is not my thing, I know Jahan and Dan do a lot more of it. But like it's hard because at the end, the only thing you could document is how people are walking, separately or waiting in line, being 6 feet away. Like those things are the only way you can show what's happening, unless you get into a hospital, which I think nobody wants to do for the sake of, fun or documenting for themselves. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm going to be documenting the same way I document everything, which is my family.
Yeah, I was going to say that like family is something interesting to work with.
Yeah. I mean, you're stuck with your mom or you're stuck with your dad, and just document your family,
Well, that's I think the more important thing to record, but it's also going to be, it's something you can't record and document in a single image.
No.
It needs to be a series over time, and that's going to be, I'm hopeful that that we're going to see a lot more of that. Not just people like limiting their, constraining their focus because they have to, but trying to think up ways that they can show the passage of time, show the activity, show the isolation, but not by emptiness, but by the closeness. That's a real challenge, I think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like in my opinion, the people here in Austria really don't get situation because it's not like war zone images where you have body parts lying around and like guns firing and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why people don't get the like how intense or actually how dangerous the situation is, and still go outside in parks and walk around and stuff like that.
You got to tell them to go to a hospital and check it out. I was there 2 days ago, and it's not fun at all.
Well, even the pictures from Italian hospitals that are in the media of how crowded they are, and they're setting up beds in places that wouldn't normally be used for it. It's clearly not communicating to people because people think, oh wow, that's happening in Italy. It's too far, it's not, but it's not going to happen here.
Yeah.
And the same. Did any of you see the aerial pictures of the mass graves they were digging in Iran?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
Like again, that like there are shocking, arresting images that, and I think what it shows you is that the imagery, whether it's stills or motion, is not enough, and context even isn't enough. This is a really good, a good way of highlighting how much more there needs to be for people to connect. And this isn't the first time, right? This has been it's the same problem that we have with the the migrant crisis, if you want to call it that. I mean, I don't think there's any good name, right? There are loads of refugees trying to get away from unsafe places, and you've got plenty of pictures of Aleppo being bombed to hell, and if and people can't relate to it because they'd never seen that city before, and they'd probably never heard of it before, and so it just doesn't, and it's too far away from them. And I think it's why, in the reverse, it's why when 9/11 happened, it affected so much of the planet, because everyone knew New York. Even if they'd never been there, everyone had seen New York in films and TV for decades. Everyone knew the Twin Towers because they were this iconic piece of architecture. It would be, and it's just a really strange thing about our psychology is that familiarity is required in order for us to have empathy.
Mm-hmm. Also relatability, I'd say. If you can
we
relate.
all need that relatable content.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was sarcasm, but yes, I also agree.
But yeah, Nico, you said you were at the hospital and like the situation is crazy. But like, could you imagine going there and taking pictures?
I mean, it's just the documentation is complicated. Like mostly it was like all the surfaces had stickers that said like "do not touch," so you had to like talk from away. You know, like okay, I need this. You would go, and then the doctors. There was no doctors because anyone that's been in contact with anyone that's sick has to be sent home. So it's like I wouldn't see myself walking in for the sake of taking pictures in any moment of like maybe if I was 17 and reckless, but not at this age and not knowing that I could harm others, I would not. But I think I don't know. I don't know how I would document it if I was into photojournalism. I think it's just not the thing. I think it's fun to see. Like I live in an apartment building, and I see the people in the bottom that have gardens, and they're like outside sunbathing. Everyone's in their terrace sunbathing because you can't be outside.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Like I don't see how you could document it without getting yourself in danger or making it interesting, unless what you I think Johan was saying, and unless it's a long run, you know, like you can document it throughout days and days. Or Dan was saying, like that's what I'm going to do is document my kids every day, which are painting their face a different color and a different shape and going crazy and building stuff. And that's all I can do. But that would be the same thing as, you know, if we weren't in lockdown, because every Sunday they do that.
Kind of like it's still okay with Jasper since he's like so small. He's like, yeah, he just wants to crawl around the building, but he's also getting like, I want to go outside. I want to be outside. And it's like, even though he's just like 10 months old, he already like he has that urge to be outside of that apartment and of that like four walls that are surrounding us. So
yeah,
like if you already have to with 10 months, it's just like, yeah, if you're older, you kind of have the need to go outside.
well,
But yeah, that's all
my
crazy.
My niece and nephew, and I mean the youngest niece is only not even 18 months yet, so she doesn't know any better yet. But the older two, you know, they closed the parks a couple of days ago here as well, and you know, thankfully they can still go on walks as a family around the around their neighborhood. But they live in an apartment building, so there's nothing, you know, there's no outdoor space. My mom's house has a big back garden, but depending on whether we go into lockdown or not, they might not be able to come over here to take advantage of it. So I think it's but everyone's dealing with this stuff in various ways, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Not just those of us who like to create and capture. I mean, it's curious for me because it's relaxing. It's one of my meditative processes to take a camera and go out and walk. It's one of the worst things that I could think about for me, just creatively and mentally and emotionally, is to not be able to. I'm not yet sure how I'd manage that if I was not allowed to leave the house. I'd go on a lot more grocery runs, I think.
Yeah.
Just like have the camera out the window at every stoplight.
I think one thing would be great is just to raise awareness that there's a lot of people like photographers who are completely dependent on their jobs. And like I was talking to this guy on Instagram, I've forgotten his username unfortunately, and he was telling me that he's selling off all his gear right now because like he has bills to pay, and like all the jobs that he had coming were all canceled. And so he's like a father of two, and like he has just like nothing that he can name as a source of income. So he's like literally like he has like an M6 and like an M7 and like I don't know what, and he's just like selling all of it. So
Yeah,
if there's one thing
I know other people who are in
you can support photographers by like buying prints and like supporting them in ways where I mean, like I think like every person on Instagram kind of sells prints and stuff like that. And I think that's something that would be great, like to raise awareness about just in general, that there's so many people out there that are struggling in the creative field because they have jobs that are just non-existent right now.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel that like I know a lot of people in tech, right? Whether they're in a creative role or a software and engineering role, and most of them are okay. There've been a handful of layoffs in certain positions, especially in the travel industry, but in the tech industry, people are working from home and they're getting extra bonuses in some cases. If you're people who work at Facebook, and not that those people don't still have bills to pay, but essentially at the minute their outgoings haven't changed. But I think so part of me thinks, man, this is, if there was ever a time for people who have more than they need to share it with artists who, whether they're designers or illustrators or photographers or musicians or writers, this would be a great time for that. I also kind of feel, well, like personally, I feel like it's just the worst time to try and sell stuff. And that's I know that's in my head, but it's also kind of like, well, just because those people have money to be able to buy like loads of prints, that's not kind of a practical investment. You only want to buy enough that you can actually put on display. It's not like they're going to have tons of resale value afterwards. And also everyone is kind of panicked right now because even if you are well off and you haven't lost your job and you're just working from home and you've got all the resources you need, there's so much uncertainty right now that I wouldn't blame people who are earning a lot of money for kind of trying to hold on to as much of it as possible, maybe even more than they did before. Because in 6 months, who knows how everything is going to be if things continue like this. So
if your money is worth the value it is at the moment, which it won't.
Exactly, and I almost feel like it needs to go to the government support systems that actually exist for this, right? There's a whole host of people in the United States now signing up for unemployment because people are losing their jobs left and right. But that unemployment fund exists because people who work pay into it in their taxes. So it's kind of, that's exactly what it's there for. And other countries have the same kind of thing. And I think we'd almost be better off in the short term to put a strain on the system that already exists for this purpose, and only at the time that runs out, like then we just start asking everyone who's still doing all right to buy all our stuff. I don't know. I'm worried. I'm as worried about this as anyone because I didn't have a lot of money in the bank before this happened, but I had events that were planned. Jahan and I had a workshop we were going to run in Italy at the beginning of May. I got an event I was going to run in June. I had a couple of conferences I was speaking at, and a few other things planned. Some product launches that are either going to be, well, they're not going to be canceled, but they'll be delayed regardless, as well as some other tiny shoots and some design related work that was just tied to physical deadlines and deliveries, and all that stuff is just gone. And so even with that, I feel like, all right, well, let's see what the U.S. or U.K. government does first, because I'd rather rely on that than start kind of panic pleading and selling. And because I also know people who are worse off than I am still, and in more of a panic position. I've got friends who run conferences, and that is 100% of their income, and like their income has just completely disappeared for the foreseeable future. And for many of them, when they were weeks or only a couple of months away from running their event, which means that like they've just got zero chance of making their yearly income because it all kind of rides on one or two things. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm just kind of I'm very conflicted basically about it. Like I feel like there's got to be, we should all be helping each other out, but also this is exactly what all of our governments are built to do at some level, so they should be helping first.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, Austria already made like that huge emergency funding of, what was it, 38 billion or not billion? Yeah,
Million.
like huge, huge rescue things. But I have a good friend who's like an event technician, and when that all started and they had to cancel the events, so he was actually the first one to be affected. He said like, yeah, okay, we lost all the money for the next 2 months, and now he's like, yeah, we're closing the company for the next 3 months because like there is no income, none, like not at all. It's like, okay, so yeah, how are you gonna survive? So they are full depending on our government, and Austria is a small country. We only have 8 million people, but on the first day, like this Monday, we had, what was it? I think close to 20,000 unemployment, like new unemployed people.
Mm.
And I think now the number is around 40,000 or something like that. So yeah, it just raised like crazy.
Wow. No, I think the number, like the fact that people, like what Dan was saying, like people that are creative that can't do their work, like the illustrators, writers or photographers or influencers. And I know that the word sounds horrible, but people do make a living off, promoting and showing stuff, and that stuff is pretty much frozen.
Well, actually, like advertising is working pretty good at the moment because everybody's just watching their phones. So
yeah, but like,
just to be honest, like
how many this is happening on YouTube. Like right now, if you make a video talking about what we're talking, they won't let you monetize. So like, if you were making any sort of money through this, you wouldn't be able to. So it's complicated. And I think a lot of people, as you were saying, are going to lose their jobs. And like Dan is concerned about maybe, asking for help, and people might not being able to help because they have their own issues. I think asking for help is never a problem. You can always ask, and it's not going to be hypocrite unless if you have something to fall on of, like Jahan was saying, if this friend of his has the gear and maybe hasn't used it and needs the income, just sell it. And if he doesn't have that, maybe he can ask for help through other ways. But like, I mean, of course, we can't all open a GoFundMe, I ran out of work at the same time. But I think the economy is going to be very complicated for a lot of people, including creators and not creators. I mean, work is going to diminish by the second. So that will be it.
Guys, I'm gonna have to leave.
Yeah, I think we can end the show soon. Was really nice. Maybe we can do that next week too, if you guys are up for it. If we're still in home,
and we still have internet.
Yeah, we still have internet. Maybe next time we don't talk about Corona. We talk about camera stuff.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think we've got it out of our system nicely.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing before we wrap up, if anyone's not looking at the comments, I saw Nico saw it, but the folks
Steven.
who run Format, who I think Jahan, you use them for your site, don't you?
Yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, and they're great, and they announced a $25,000 fund. I don't know if that's US or Canadian. I think it's probably Canadian because they're based in Canada, but still, it doesn't matter. They've announced a fund for photographers who are finding themselves without any work right now, and it's worth just going and applying for it. It's they're offering as much as they can, but it's amazing to see that a company's doing that, and I think it's $500 for everyone who qualifies for it. But if you have actually been affected by this, go and apply, because and if you're listening to this right now, and there will hopefully be more things like that. I've already seen a few other things pop up where there are variations of it with companies that have a budget who want to hire 50 creatives in 50 days for little projects that are paid. And I think there are going to be really creative ways like that aren't just handouts. I mean, none of us want handouts. We're happy to work for it. It's the problem is we don't have the work. So let's stay positive, and next week let's pick some topics that are all about photography, and we can totally geek out about that.
Woo! Maybe I can get some film from the basement.
We can talk about developing, because I'll actually have done it by then.
Yeah, you can talk about your experiences. And Jahan can do a live stream from his bathroom. It's like I actually like since we were building our house, I was planning a dark room in the basement, which I now cancelled actually, because I mean, I still have everything prepared to do a dark room, but I was like, I'm not gonna put a permanent wall in my basement for a small room. That's only for a dark room. So like, if I want to build a dark room, I'm gonna just like put a little drywall inside and have it made myself. But let's see if I actually can do that, or if there's still money left, because house building isn't cheap, and let's see how much money it will cost us to delay everything and or not, or stuff like that. But yeah. But the whole basement is mine, so that's good. Okay, I can't do a darkroom live stream. I don't have a darkroom here, but maybe Jahan can be in the darkroom.
Bye, Jahan.
Jahan.
It was good seeing you guys.
Bye bye.
Good seeing
See
you
ya.
too.
Take care, guys.
You
Bye.
too.
Oh yeah, but like I'm in the lucky situation that like Corona doesn't affect our company at all. Like it really, I worked the last week like there was nothing. Maybe it was a little bit more relaxed.
That's good. You know,
But,
and
yeah.
and I think that's the thankful thing. You know, my brother's in the same situation. He's a software engineer, and he's got even more business since all this came up, because there are companies that rely on not just him, but who are having to adapt their businesses on the digital side to what's going on, and so they need even more work. So I mean, there are some, very thankfully, there are some creative industries that are going to be in even higher demand, and I think we it's still very early days. Everything has changed really, really quickly. So you know, I'm sure this won't be even if we did this every week, this won't be the last time that we discuss what's going on. Because in another couple of weeks, situations will have changed, and I think it's going to be better than what our freak out parts of our lizard brains are worrying about. Only because we're all going to start to help each other and find different ways of getting through.
That's true.
So thanks for organizing this.
Yeah, next week we make a film developing show, huh? Everybody's
Amazing.
developing his film.
I'll move up to my darkroom so we can show actual products.
Perfect.
Sweet.
Okay, guys, so wrap it up. Thanks for everybody to join in. Next week, same time, around 7, I think. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Dan is already awake, and we are already, like, I put my
It's
son
2
to
p.m.
sleep.
Of course I'm awake.
Who knows?
All right. It's
Corona
on the
changed
calendar.
it a lot. Yeah.
Take
Okay.
care, okay? All of you, take care of yourselves and your families.
Bye-bye.